Hey guys, so in a previous video I was talking about a SSD that I had recently upgraded or taken out of my iMac, and I said I wanted to kind of do a video on it, and yeah, so I just thought I would have a little bit of a video, just discuss with you guys what I did and how it's working out. So let's get into it. Hey guys, so this video is just basically about the iMac that or not the iMac, the hard drive that I took out of my iMac. So if you recall, this is a upgraded, refurbished iMac 2019 27-inch, and here are the specs right here. But pretty much what I did was I upgraded the storage from 512 gigabytes to, or 500 gigabytes to 2 terabytes. And what I did was, I figured I had a really great SSD. I took the SSD out. One of the reasons why I chose not to opt for the Fusion drive, because I figured if I'm going to do an upgrade, I want to upgrade and salvage as much as I can from the upgrade. So where a lot of people do, they buy the stock, or they buy the iMac with the Fusion drive, and then they open it up and they upgrade it. I said to myself, well, I'm going to spend the extra $120. I'm going to get the one with the SSD option, and I'm going to upgrade, and I'm going to take out the SSD and leverage that SSD. And in fact, I'm doing it right here. So this is the actual SSD right here that I took out of the iMac, and as you can see, I am using it. It's working great. It's working perfect. So it's just one of the things that I did. I'm really happy I liked that approach, as opposed to just getting the Fusion drive and upgrading the iMac with the Fusion drive. But then now I'm left with a Fusion drive or a regular hard drive with a spinning disk or spinning platter, and what am I going to do with that? Yes, I could put in an enclosure and use it as external, but it's just really slow these days. So I'm really glad the approach I took. I'm wondering if I can see it here, storage and the SSD. So basically, I'm really glad I took this approach of upgrading, doing a little bit more of investment. $120 is not much in the grand scheme of what you're paying for these things. And now I have a really great SSD that has really great specs. That's the one thing, right? It's not like it's a slow, low quality SSD. It's a very good quality SSD. Maybe later on we'll take a look as how much one of these 500 gigabyte Mac based PCIe SSD cards or hard drives come in cost. So these are the specs. What I did was I formatted it to exFAT. Reason why I did that is because I'm running both Boot Camp, or I'm running Windows and Mac, so via Boot Camp. So I wanted to have this hard drive available on both operating systems. Now, in hindsight, I'm not quite sure if it's something in the chipset for the SSD. And sorry, before I go further, here is the actual image of the SSD. So you might be wondering why it looks all like this. What I ended up having to do is, because I'm using an adapter to connect it to a traditional external storage SSD or PCIe SSD enclosure, I had to take it out of its case, and that's what you're seeing here. So we'll get into that in a second here. I will show you what I actually purchased to get this to work. So first off, what I did was I bought an enclosure. So I bought this one, and basically what I did was I just took it out of its enclosure, and I'm just running it like this. So no case, just have it like this. And then what I also did was I purchased this. And basically what this is just basically, as it says, it's an adapter. So it allows you to connect to the unique pinouts that Mac produces for their SSDs, and then it converts it out to a traditional M key or M2 key format, as you can see right here, NVMe. And so what that does, it allows me to, yes, you could either use it to put your Mac SSD in a PC laptop or something, but what I did was I just simply used it for external storage, hence the reason why I have I purchased this. And again, 3.1, so I'm maximizing my speeds here, and I'm literally just running it like this. And so that's what you're seeing right here. Right, you're seeing this is the hard drive right here, and then this is the adapter, and then this is the actual enclosure. And again, it works perfectly. It's running pretty good. I'm happy. And of course, it's all about the speed test. So what we can do is let's switch over to that hard drive. So Mac SSD, click open, and so if you can see, speeds are pretty good. That's actually pretty good for an external, right? I think typically you would be getting around 500 megabits per second on traditional SSDs, or maybe that's just because I'm running this enclosure 3.1, so I'm not quite sure, but yeah, ultimately these are great speeds for an external device or external hard drive, right? So I'm really happy with how the whole project went out. Right, so again, here it is, and that's what is currently. This is what this is right here, and yeah, everything is great. Everything's working perfect. So again, formatted to exFAT. Idea here was to leverage and run have this SSD available on both operating systems. So back to what I was originally saying. So one thing I noticed with this Mac quote unquote SSD, I find it doesn't actually function very well in my Windows partition. It's really interesting. So in my Windows partition, whenever I connect it, it'll connect fine. It'll say it found the SSD hard drive. I can use it. But after say, if I go to hibernate or if I move away from the computer for a while, after several minutes, I find the Mac SSD hard drive will just kind of disappear from the Windows partition, and I'll have to disconnect the whole hard drive from the from its slot, disconnect the actual enclosure from the cable and reconnect it, and then it'll recognize it again. So I'm not quite sure if it's some kind of something weird in the controller chipset of the Mac SSD, because it's only meant to be in Macs. I have no idea. It's really interesting, but yeah. So one thing I noticed, I find this Mac SSD does not work very well in Windows, but in Mac, when I'm on my Mac, it works perfectly. I can hibernate, I can turn off my computer, or I can leave it on suspend mode, screensavers on, everything. It works perfectly. It's always there, it's always available, it's always connected. But again, when I'm on my Windows partition, the exact same hard drive, after a couple of minutes, or if I'm not using the hard drive for a while, it just kind of dies. It just becomes non-responsive, and then the Windows partition will disconnect it automatically, saying there's a problem with your external hard drive. So it's really interesting. Again, I don't know if maybe because I formatted to exFAT and there's an issue, or I have no idea. But a little quite interesting, a little anomaly I just found. But overall, I'm very happy with how the Mac SSD is working. It's working great. As you can see, the speeds are great, very consistent. Doesn't run very hot. As you know, a lot of NVMe, PCIe cards or hard drives run pretty hot. This is pretty cool to the touch. I mean, it is hot, but it's not as hot as some other PCIe's that I purchased in the past. Western Digital. So no, it's working great. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment at the bottom or subscribe. And yeah, more videos to come. Thanks.